The streets been whispering for years, but now? Man, the courtroom done turned into a whole battlefield, and the truth, whatever's left of it, is crawling out the shadows like it can't hide no more. Memphis energy different right now. It's heavy, it's thick, like the whole city holding its breath, waiting on somebody to finally say what really went down the day young Dolph got dropped. And then out of nowhere, boom, Shorty, the girlfriend of the accused shooter, step up in that trial and let off a statement so wild the whole internet froze. She talking like she tired of carrying secrets that ain't even hers, tired of protecting dudes who never protected her. She pointing fingers high up the chain, way past the shooters, way past the lookouts, straight toward Yo Gotti's bloodline, straight toward his brother, straight toward the name nobody thought she would even dare mention in public. She said that's who was really behind the plot, that's who set the whole play in motion, that's who wanted Dolph gone. Whether she telling the truth, lying for leverage, or trying to save her man's life, nobody knows yet. But the courtroom got quiet. Lawyers stopped flipping pages. Cameras leaned in closer. And the blogs? Man, they started cooking like somebody dropped gasoline on the rumor mill. 'Cause one thing about Memphis, when beef runs deep, it run generational. And Dolph? He wasn't just a rapper, he was a target, a threat, a boss who didn't bow down to nobody. This the kind of claim that can bury reputations, flip cases upside down, and bring old street alliances back from the dead. So buckle in. This ain't gossip. This ain't just another headline. This is the part where the truth starts sounding more dangerous than the crime itself. From the moment the trial kicked off, the whole courthouse felt like it was sitting on a powder keg ready to blow. You had reporters packing the hallways like it was the Grammys, bloggers live streaming from their phones, dudes from every side of Memphis staring each other down like old beef might pop off right there on the marble floors. Everybody knew this wasn't just another murder trial. This was a chance for the world to finally hear what happened behind them tinted windows, them studio backrooms, them late night calls that never get logged. And the crazy part? Nobody expected the first major bomb to come from a girl who wasn't even supposed to be the center of the story. She walked in looking like she'd been holding 3 years of pressure in her chest, eyes tired, lips tight, shoulders heavy. But when she sat on that stand, she ain't tremble. She ain't whisper. She ain't stall. She spoke like somebody who had been rehearsing this moment every night, every time she replayed the scene of her man getting dragged into this mess. And soon as she said Yo Gotti's brother name, you could feel the whole room shift. It wasn't even the words, it was the weight behind them. You could hear people sucking in breath. You could see even the judge blink twice like he wasn't expecting that one. She started off slow, talking about how her boyfriend got caught up, how he wasn't no kingpin mastermind, how he ain't even have the brain power to plan nothing that reckless on his own. She painted him like a pawn, somebody used by bigger players who stayed tucked away behind money, muscle, and reputation. She said dudes came around him with pressure, with promises, with threats that don't never get written down but always get understood. She said the tension between Dolph and that camp had been boiling long before the internet picked it up, long before the memes, long before the fans started claiming sides like it was some rap fantasy league. And when she mentioned the meeting, the one she swore happened weeks before Dolph got sprayed, everybody leaned in. Courtroom dead silent. She said her man came home that night nervous, pacing, talking about a mission some big folks wanted him tied to. She said he didn't want to do it, but fear talk louder than logic when you know who you up against. She claimed one name kept coming up, one person standing behind the idea, pushing it, financing it, motivating dudes who ain't never had that kind of ambition on their own. And that name belonged to Gotti's own blood. She said it clear. No stutter. No confusion. The prosecutor damn near forgot his script. The defense lawyers jumped up so fast you'd think they sat on hot coals. Objection this, objection that, trying to get the judge to shut her down before she said anything that couldn't be taken back. But damage was done. She busted the room open. And once a truth, or at least a version of it, gets said in a courtroom, it sticks in people's minds whether the judge throws it out or not. But here's the thing about Memphis. Everybody got their own version of the truth. Ain't nobody innocent, ain't nobody completely guilty. It's a city where history bleeds into rumors, rumors turn into facts, and facts get twisted until they sound like bedtime stories told in barbershops. So when her testimony leaked online, because of course it did, the city split right down the middle. Half the people said she lying to save her man. Half said she finally letting loose what everybody been whispering behind closed doors. Meanwhile, the streets? They got louder. Old beef videos resurfaced. Clips from Dolph interviews got reposted. He'd been saying for years that dudes wanted him gone, tried to line him up, tried to take him out before. And now, with Shorty pointing Had somebody with real ties, real power, real history in that feud? It started feeling like Dolph wasn't talking in metaphors. He was warning us. And the prosecutors, they smelled blood. They started rechecking phone records, bank transfers, old surveillance footage. They started interviewing people they skipped before. They started dragging witnesses who thought they had dodged the bullet. 'Cause once a case get messy like this, the system wanna clean it up quick. But the defense? Man, they came back swinging, saying the girl was emotional, unstable, trying to rewrite the story for sympathy. They said she wasn't even in the room when the deals were made. Said she was just repeating rumors. But there was something about her energy that didn't feel like no rumor. She wasn't talking like somebody trying to be famous. She wasn't clout chasing. She was talking like somebody who'd been forced to carry the fallout of a war she ain't even fight in. She talked about late night calls, sudden disappearances, money exchanges that made no sense. Dudes she had never seen showing up, and a skin question she didn't want to answer. She talked about fear, the kind that follows you around even when you move in city to city. She talked about guilt too. Guilt for being connected to a tragedy that flipped Memphis upside down. And when she started crying, it wasn't soft. It was angry. Like she mad at herself for being quiet this long. Mad at the streets for making snitching a death sentence. Mad at the world for treating Dolph's murder like entertainment. She said she ain't scared no more. Said whatever happened gone happen. Said she tired of watching her man get painted like the devil while the people who pushed him into this mess sit in mansions, untouched, unbothered. Behind her, Dolph's family sat still, listening to every word. His people know what he stood for. They know the enemies he made just by being independent, loud, successful, and unafraid. They know who hated that he made money without bowing to nobody. They know the beef wasn't no small disagreement. It was a decade of tension loaded with pride, losses, disrespect, jealousy, and territory. So when she said Gotti's brother name, they ain't flinch. They ain't gasp. They just watched. Come. Like they'd heard that possibility before. But in the back row, a couple faces shifted. You could see dudes whispering, texts being sent, eyes darting around the room like somebody just broke the code. This wasn't just courtroom drama. This was street chess, and she moved a piece nobody expected her to touch. And that's just the beginning. 'Cause once you accuse somebody that tied into the Memphis music machine, money, labels, connections, influence, you ain't just speaking, you making enemies. And now, the whole trial, the whole city, the whole internet want one answer. Is she telling the truth, or did she just start a war she can't walk back from? The courtroom drama wasn't even half the story. Outside, Memphis was already alive, buzzing like a hornet's nest had been kicked over. Social media started popping off immediately. Clips of Shorty testifying, screenshots of her statements, rumors flaring up faster than a match in a gas station. Everyone got an opinion. Everybody had a side. And that's how the streets work. You ain't got to see it yourself to swear it's true. One whisper turns into 100 tweets, one video gets remixed into memes, and suddenly what was private now belongs to the world. Street veterans started digging through old footage, interviews, behind-the-scenes clips, trying to piece together a puzzle they always suspected existed. Dolph's career had been full of tension. He wasn't shy about calling out fake energy, fake loyalty, and fake friends. And everybody knew that. But now, with somebody officially pointing at the top of the chain, things felt different. The rumors were no longer whispers. They had a name, a connection, a target. And Yo Gotti's brother? That was like dropping a live grenade in a room full of matchsticks. The defense tried to spin it fast, claiming Shorty's emotional, claiming she's just trying to save her boyfriend from a life sentence. They threw every standard play in the book: credibility attacks, alleged inconsistencies, claims of pressure from prosecutors. But her story wasn't simple, and it wasn't shallow. She described nights of fear, meetings she wasn't supposed to see, messages she wasn't supposed to read. She painted a world of manipulation where her man was never really calling his own shots, where the real player stayed hidden but pulled all the strings. And the prosecutor? They were in heaven. Every word she said was ammunition. Every detail opened doors to phone records, financial trails, and associates who had stayed under the radar. They started subpoenaing witnesses who had avoided being called before, pulling in people connected to the inner circle. Even some of the smaller players, drivers, bodyguards, runners, suddenly found themselves under pressure. And the city felt it. Memphians don't just watch trials, they live them. Every rumor, every leak, every small mention of a name in the wrong place sends shockwaves through the neighborhoods. But here's the thing, the streets are messy. Truth and lies blend like smoke in the air. Some people started questioning Shorty's story immediately. They said she was trying to curry favor, paint someone else as the mastermind, protect her own neck. Others said she was finally exposing what everybody already knew but nobody had proof of. And that's how this case became more than just a trial. It became a citywide conversation about loyalty, power, and the dangerous intersection of music, street influence, and violence. Meanwhile, whispers from Memphis insiders began surfacing. People who knew both Dolph and Yo Gotti's camp started dropping hints about meetings, past threats, and unresolved beefs. Some claimed the feud went back years, long before social media turned rappers into brands and celebrities. They said the streets never forget and grudges carry generational weight. Others spoke of jealousy, rivalries, and business disputes that festered quietly, until one day they exploded into the headlines. It was messy, complicated, and raw. Exactly the kind of story that can't be untangled without bruising a lot of reputations. Then came the digital frenzy. Fans, bloggers, and street reporters started comparing old videos, old interviews, and leaked messages. They were drawing connections between past threats and the current allegations. Some even went as far as claiming that Yo Gotti himself might have had knowledge of schemes that went deeper than anyone had imagined. The combination of real news and rumors began creating a storm. Everyone had an angle, everyone had evidence they believed, and nobody could tell what was verified. Inside the trial, the tension kept ratcheting up. The prosecution kept feeding the narrative with Shorty's testimony, layering it with phone records, witness statements, and financial trails. They painted a picture of a citywide power struggle where Dolph became a target not because he was weak, but because he was independent, successful, and unafraid to challenge the players who felt untouchable. They highlighted connections between Yo Gotti's camp and the accused shooter, creating the impression that someone higher up orchestrated the plan. The defense pushed back hard. They called witnesses who claimed Shorty's memory was hazy, suggested she was influenced by lawyers and media pressure, and tried to discredit her observations. They emphasized that speculation isn't evidence, and tried to shift blame away from the bigger names. But every time they attacked her credibility, the energy in the courtroom shifted. Even the smallest details she gave, like the sudden change in her boyfriend's behavior or unexpected trips or secret calls, made the defense stumble. Outside, the streets reacted differently. Some praised Shorty's courage, claiming it took guts to point fingers at such a powerful family. Others condemned her, saying she was betraying her own community and putting herself in danger. Social media comments ranged from heated debates to full-blown conspiracies. Memphians dissected her every word, debating what was fact and what was hearsay. Hip-hop blogs picked up the story and amplified it, turning the trial into a national conversation about loyalty, violence, and the price of fame in the rap game. And through it all, the pressure kept mounting. Dudes who were once untouchable now had their names dragged into the light. Alliances shifted, whispers turned into confrontations, and neighborhoods that had long avoided public conflict suddenly found themselves embroiled in speculation and tension. The balance between street credibility and legal accountability became fragile. One misstep, one misquote, one leaked clip could spark chaos. And in Memphis, chaos spreads fast. The media coverage didn't help. Every headline, every recap, every livestream snippet added fuel to the fire. Some outlets focused on Shorty's bravery, others on the potential involvement of Yo Gotti's brother, and others still on the rumors swirling through the streets. The line between verified fact and street gossip blurred, creating a narrative that was hard to untangle. Even seasoned reporters admitted it was difficult to separate truth from manipulation. And yet, the trial continued. Each day brought new testimony, new evidence, and new drama. Shorty's account remained consistent, her demeanor calm but firm. She spoke of fear, loyalty, and survival, and in doing so, she forced everyone in that courtroom to reconsider what they thought they knew about the case. Lawyers adjusted their strategies, prosecutors gained momentum, and the defense tried to regroup, knowing the stakes were higher than ever. This case wasn't just about the shooter. It wasn't just about young Dolph. It was about power, influence, and the dangerous overlap between street politics and the music industry. The whispers in the streets, the leaks online, the courtroom tension. All of it painted a picture of a city grappling with the consequences of its own fame and rivalry. And as Memphis watched, everyone wondered, when the truth finally drops, will it bring justice, or just more chaos? By the time the third week of the trial rolled around, the energy in Memphis had hit a fever pitch. The courtroom itself felt like a live wire, buzzing with tension you could cut with a knife. Every seat packed, every phone out, every camera lens pointed at Shorty like she was about to drop the real bomb no one had expected yet. She'd already shook the system by naming names, But now the narrative was expanding, growing sharper, heavier, and more dangerous with every testimony. People weren't just watching, they were waiting. Waiting for that one detail that would finally connect all the dots, the one revelation that would blow the lid off the whole story. Shorty's recollections got deeper, darker. She started talking about the day her man first got recruited into the operation, describing meetings in back alleys, whispered instructions over burner phones, and the kind of fear that seeps into your bones when you know you're playing in a game way above your level. She painted a picture where her boyfriend was never the architect. He was just the trigger man, the tool, the expendable pawn. And the people who pulled the strings? She made it clear. The shadow over the whole thing wasn't some random street crew. It was organized, connected, and deadly. She dropped hints about funding, about logistics, about who controlled the narrative long before the first shots rang out. The courtroom reacted with every new word. Judges scribbled notes furiously. Lawyers flipped through folders like their lives depended on it. Every phrase Shorty spoke felt loaded, like a stick of dynamite ticking down to the inevitable explosion. And outside, Memphis was alive with speculation. Street corners buzzed with chatter. Instagram stories went viral. Every news outlet in the city dissected her testimony, replayed her every gesture, every pause, every nervous laugh, turning her statements into headlines that would make any street veteran's jaw drop. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Yo Gotti's brother had been pushing for this hit for months, orchestrating it with precision. Others said the shooter had acted independently, just trying to prove loyalty to someone who never promised anything. There were even whispers that the whole operation had been double-crossed, that what started as a street-level feud had been manipulated by people at the top who had much bigger stakes in the game. No one knew for sure, but in Memphis, speculation is just another form of currency, and everybody was cashing in. Inside the trial, the prosecution laid out a timeline. Calls, texts, financial transfers, all hinting at a plan too meticulous for the average street-level player. And every time they connected one of these dots, the tension in the courtroom ratcheted higher. Defense lawyers scrambled, throwing in every legal tactic they had, trying to frame Shorty as an unreliable narrator, someone influenced by emotion or fear. But witnesses corroborated small details, locations, times, people present, which slowly started forming a chain that couldn't be ignored. And then came the psychological warfare. Shorty didn't just testify about facts, she testified about fear, loyalty, and survival. She talked about the pressure her boyfriend endured, about threats that came from people whose faces he never saw, whose names weren't publicly spoken. She painted a world where power and influence could manipulate anyone, where decisions that cost lives were made in silence, far from the cameras, far from accountability. She spoke of guilt, frustration, and anger, all layered over the cold reality that someone was dead because of a chain of choices made long before her man even touched a trigger. Outside the courthouse, the city was a powder keg. Hip-hop forums lit up with speculation. Rap blogs dissected her every word. Old videos of young Dolph resurfaced, interviews and social media posts revisited in light of these claims. Fans debated the authenticity of her statements. Critics questioned her motives. Street insiders whispered about alliances forming and fracturing, about reputations on the line, and about the dangerous precedents set when someone dares to accuse a major figure publicly. The tension wasn't just legal, it was cultural, social, and deadly. The media frenzy only amplified the stakes. National outlets picked up the story, spreading it beyond Memphis. Social media trends fueled heated discussions. Memes distilled the drama into digestible bites, and podcasts ran hours-long analyses. Each platform added its own spin, blending verified fact, educated guesswork, and outright rumor. By now, the lines between reality and speculation had blurred so far that almost no one could say for sure what was true and what was manipulated. Yet the testimony kept coming. Shorty revealed details of communications and meetings that implied coordination and influence from a higher power, someone with resources and authority to orchestrate an operation like this. She described the stress her man endured, the constant fear, and the feeling of being trapped in a system he couldn't control. She painted vivid scenes of manipulation, betrayal, and the kind of cold calculation that's often hidden behind money and influence. The courtroom was tense every time she spoke. Every eye followed her. Every ear strained to catch the nuances in her voice. Lawyers on both sides worked overtime to interpret, react, and adapt. Prosecutors leaned into the narrative, connecting dots, drawing lines that weren't obvious before. Defense attorneys countered with arguments about memory lapses, external pressures, and emotional instability. The battle of narratives was intense, each side trying to dominate perception as much as fact. Meanwhile, rumors and speculation in the city started to impact lives. People who were merely associated with the accused, or with the alleged masterminds, suddenly found themselves under scrutiny. Alliances shifted. Friends who had been loyal for years questioned one another. Street credibility, financial connections, and reputations were suddenly at stake in ways that could be dangerous or even lethal. Every whispered conversation, every overheard rumor had the potential to escalate into action. Memphis insiders began offering their own interpretations of the situation. Some claimed that Yo Gotti's brother had been pushing for the hit, coordinating with players at different levels to ensure it went smoothly. Others said the shooter had acted independently, trying to make a name for himself, and that Shorty's testimony was an attempt to deflect responsibility. The truth, as always, was layered and complex, a mix of fact, rumor, and street-level understanding. And through all of this, one reality remained undeniable. The trial had become more than a legal proceeding. It had turned into a citywide spectacle, a story about loyalty, power, fear, and survival. Everyone had a stake, everyone had an opinion, and everyone was watching to see which side would emerge with credibility, control, and, ultimately, influence over the narrative. Now it became clear that the courtroom was just the surface of the battle. Outside, in the streets and online, the drama had taken on a life of its own. Alliances, betrayals, and power plays all collided, creating a tense atmosphere where the truth was hard to separate from perception. Every move, every word, every reaction had consequences far beyond the trial. And in Memphis, where history and rivalry run deep, those consequences could ripple for years. It was clear that Memphis, the music world, and even social media couldn't look away. The city felt like it was holding its breath, waiting to see which way the scales would tip. Shorty had already dropped statements that shook the courthouse, but now the tension had reached a boiling point. Each day brought new testimony, new evidence, new rumors circulating like wildfire, and the streets outside mirrored the chaos inside. Every word Shorty spoke, every expression she flashed, was dissected and analyzed. Her presence alone had changed the dynamic of the trial, turning it from a standard court case into a story of power, manipulation, and generational influence. She went deeper into her boyfriend's involvement, painting him less as a mastermind and more as a pawn, caught in a network of bigger, more powerful players. She described the psychological pressure, the subtle threats, and the influence of people who stayed behind the scenes. According to her, decisions were being made by those who had the leverage, the connections, and the money to control outcomes in ways most people couldn't even imagine. And when she implicated Yo Gotti's brother, the courtroom shifted. Lawyers scribbled notes, prosecutors nodded, and even the judge's usually impassive face betrayed a flicker of recognition. Outside, Memphis buzzed like a city alive with secrets finally surfacing. Blogs dissected her every word, social media exploded with reactions, and the rumor mill went into overdrive. Some people believed her immediately, citing the consistency of her testimony and the corroborating small details. Others questioned her motives, arguing that she might be trying to protect her man by redirecting blame. And as usual, the streets didn't wait for clarity, they created narratives, assigned loyalty points, and warned people to watch their backs. Shorty's testimony began tying together a web of connections that previously had only existed in whispers. She talked about communications between her man and unknown associates, suspicious movements, and arrangements that suggested planning and coordination well beyond the capacity of a street-level shooter. Every new piece of information built on the last, creating a narrative where the alleged mastermind wasn't just her boyfriend, but someone far more influential, someone with access to resources and networks capable of executing such a plan. The prosecution seized on these threads, emphasizing patterns and connections that pointed toward a larger orchestration. They presented phone records, financial transactions, and witness statements that, when taken together, suggested a coordinated effort from someone in a position of authority. The defense countered, emphasizing gaps in memory, potential external influence, and the unreliability of a partner testifying under pressure. The courtroom became a battle not just over facts, but over perception, credibility, and influence. Outside the court, the city felt the impact of these revelations. Neighborhoods talked in hushed tones about potential consequences, old rivalries resurfaced, and alliances were questioned. Fans debated on forums and social media, speculating about whether Gotti's brother had a hand in orchestrating the plot, or if it was a calculated attempt to frame a powerful family member. Every interpretation sparked tension, leading to more discussions, more rumors, and heightened awareness of who might be aligned with whom in Memphis. The trial also brought to light the influence of street culture on music and vice versa. Young Dolph's status as a successful independent artist had always been tied to his real-world credibility. His refusal to bow to influential figures, his outspoken presence on social media, and his loyalty to the streets had earned him both respect and enemies. Shorty's testimony suggested that his prominence may have been a factor in targeting him, highlighting the dangerous intersections of fame, influence, and street politics. As the days progressed, Shorty provided more vivid detail about her boyfriend's involvement and the pressures he faced. She described encounters with men whose names were whispered in Memphis for decades, meetings that carried weight far beyond the streets, and the fear instilled by those who could manipulate outcomes without leaving a trace. She painted a chilling picture of how power operates, showing how decisions made by influential people ripple down to affect everyone from top-level strategists to foot soldiers. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore, it was a story about influence, loyalty, fear, and survival. The courtroom had become a microcosm of Memphis itself, reflecting the layers of power and manipulation that exist in both music and street culture. Every testimony, every rebuttal, and every objection served as a reminder that in this city, the lines between law, loyalty, and business are often blurred. The media frenzy continued to escalate. National outlets picked up the story and social media debates grew increasingly intense. Fans of Young Dolph, street veterans, and music enthusiasts dissected every detail of Shorty's statements, looking for connections and inconsistencies. Bloggers speculated on the implications of her testimony, debating whether it was enough to implicate someone as influential as Yo Gotti's brother. The conversation expanded beyond Memphis, becoming a national narrative about power, revenge, and the price of fame in the rap industry. Inside the courtroom, tension remained high. Lawyers adjusted strategies daily, weighing each word of Shorty's testimony against the broader narrative. The judge maintained order, but the energy in the room was palpable. Witnesses were scrutinized, evidence was analyzed meticulously, and the prosecution worked to weave a compelling narrative that painted a clear picture of orchestration and influence. Meanwhile, the defense worked tirelessly to discredit statements, emphasize inconsistencies, and protect their client from the potential fallout of high-level accusations. The stakes were enormous. This case wasn't just about one crime, it was about setting precedent, determining accountability, and navigating the dangerous interplay between street culture, music influence, and personal loyalty. Every revelation had potential consequences for multiple parties, and every rumor carried weight. Memphis itself became a character in this drama, a city whose history of rivalry, influence, and street credibility underscored every claim and counterclaim. The story had expanded far beyond the courtroom. The combination of verified facts, eyewitness testimony, and rumors had created a layered narrative that captivated not only Memphis but the nation. The tension between law and street loyalty, fame and influence, fear and survival, had become central to understanding the case. Shorty's statements had forced everyone, lawyers, media, fans, and city residents alike, to reconsider what they knew, what they believed, and what might come next. It was clear that the trial was far from over, but one thing had become undeniable. The story of Young Dolph's death, the alleged shooter, and the potential orchestration by someone powerful had captured the imagination of an entire city. The intersection of truth, rumor, and influence had created a narrative that was as complex as it was compelling, and the fallout, legal, cultural, and social, would resonate long after the final gavel. As the trial moves forward, one thing is clear. This story isn't just about a crime, it's about power, loyalty, and the dangerous games played behind closed doors. Memphis has watched, listened, and speculated, and the ripple effect of Shorty's testimony has been felt far beyond the courtroom walls. Whether you see her as a whistleblower, a scared partner, or someone caught in a web too complex to navigate, the impact is undeniable. She's forced the public to question alliances, examine past actions, and consider the lengths people will go to protect themselves and their influence. For fans of Young Dolph, this is more than headlines, it's a reminder of the man he was. Independent, fearless, and unwilling to bow to anyone no matter the power or wealth behind them. For the streets, it's a cautionary tale, a lesson in trust, and a stark reminder that loyalty can be manipulated, and betrayal can come from places you never imagined. And for the music industry, it's a stark reflection of how fame, influence, and rivalry can collide with deadly consequences. Now is the time for awareness. Follow every development, listen closely to every testimony, and keep questioning what's presented. Don't let rumors alone shape your understanding, but don't ignore the whispers that may hold pieces of truth either. This trial isn't just about justice for one man, it's about uncovering the hidden structures, the power moves, and the real stories that the headlines sometimes fail to tell. If you're following this saga, stay connected, stay informed, and don't let the narrative be dictated by gossip alone. Share your thoughts, analyze the evidence, and keep the conversation alive, because stories like these shape more than courts. They shape communities, culture, and the legacy of those involved. The truth might be messy, but it's always worth uncovering. So hit that subscribe, stay locked in for every update, and be part of the discussion as this case continues to unfold. The streets are talking, the courtroom is buzzing, and Memphis is watching. Don't miss a single beat. This story isn't over, and neither is the conversation. Stay tuned, stay aware, and stay ready for the next chapter in a saga that's bigger than just one trial. It's a real look at power, loyalty, and the consequences of a world where influence can mean life or death.